All right, we're off.
Hey, Vinny, thank you so much for coming again. It's good time. We talked like I think more than 15 months ago, maybe, that if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I want to say that was like 3 months into the shutdowns.
Yes, and many of the things that you were saying, they were actually right now, which that
Did
we were talking about. At that point, I was a little bit of saying, okay, like like yes or maybe, but that the time told that many of the things are right that you said that how the new work will look like, and that is what is happening. So if I ask you today, what is your viewpoint about like let's come to New York and New Jersey market first, because that is our like where we are, what you're looking like, what you see in 15 months.
Well, look, it's nice to know that the things that I said came to fruition. I think I have the advantage of just doing this every single day and having a different vantage point to the way we look at commercial real estate and corporate real estate, the utilization of office space, and the importance that it plays in a variety of ways. I mean, there was a unique moment in time where I was actually able to work from home and experience that. If not for the pandemic, I never would have done it based on where I am in my life. I've got three small kids. When I spoke to you last, I only had two, so I've got three small kids now.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. And working from home is not easy. And so I knew that. So I'm fortunate that Jones Lang LaSalle took the position that we need to get back to the office in a safe way, but we need to get back to the office. If we're going to advise our clients and tell them that we believe in being in the office, we've got to actually practice what we preach. So we've been back to the office since June of 2020, right? There are people that haven't gone back yet after 19 months. We've been back for 16 months. And I knew that it was day two when we finally had a good amount of people show up, and we sat down and we just talked. What's going on in the marketplace? What companies are out looking for space? What owners are looking to buy? What owners are looking to sell? Who's growing? Who's contracting? I learned more, and I mean this wholeheartedly. I learned more in an hour and a half than I had in 3 months by being around my peers and my colleagues and just hearing what they had to say. I knew from that moment that working from home in my profession was not as beneficial and could never replace being with people. So I've taken that feeling and that moment to really provide me with my own insight and belief into what's to come. The office will never be irrelevant. We're always going to need it. Before the pandemic, I think the numbers were 20% of people were already working from home. There wasn't a new thing. People were working from home already. And you have a variety of different age groups, whether they're the baby boomers, whether they're the millennials, the Gen Zers. The office works differently for everybody. So if you're an empty nester and you're 62 and you have a long commute to the office and you can work from home, that's probably ideal. And if you're 30 and you're trying to rise in the ranks at your company and showcase your ability, well, being there, being in front of people, that's going to be where you really strive. It showed that we can work from home, that it's not impossible. I now, because of the pandemic, have a full setup. I can work from home when I need to. And I take advantage of that from time to time. It could be in the morning before I leave for work. It could be in the evenings when the kids have gone to bed and I want to do a little bit of work. Or it could be on a Friday during the summer that I just really don't feel like going to the office. So that's nice. But day to day, I recognize that being here, as you can see, I'm in my office. This is where I operate most effectively, and this is where I'm the best. So having said all that, where are we in the markets? You said, how is New Jersey? How is New York? Well, look, New York, which was hit the hardest during the pandemic, is not 100%. I want to say the data that I looked at today maybe 32% of people are back in the office, which probably mirrors a lot of markets throughout the country. But what's happening is that tenants are out looking for space. We know there's a hiring shortage. People can't hire. Everybody wants to hire, and they're having trouble doing it. But you know what? People are hiring, and for those that have, they're looking for more space. Because unless you have said, hey, everybody's going to go work from home, well, chances are you're going to need space, because maybe you've got 20% of your people working from home on any given time, but you've grown your headcount by 50%. Therefore, you need more space, right? The old amount of space doesn't accommodate for what you need today. So it's not being reflected yet in the data if you look at market reports to say what's happening today, what's happening on October 20th, 2021. What I can tell you as somebody who's, sort of the boots on the ground is that we're showing space. We are getting inquiries. We are getting proposals. We're negotiating leases at a faster pace now than I would say even pre-pandemic. So although the parking lots are still empty and a lot of companies have delayed their full return to the office, people are planning for it. So, I'll take it one step further. What's going on in Princeton, right? That's where I sit. What's going on in Princeton that maybe makes it so special? Well, I don't know that I'd say it's what makes it special, but what drives it is the pharmaceutical companies, the research, right? The biotech firms. And then you have a lot of the ancillary business lines that support that, the law firms, the accountants, the technology companies. And as the pharma grows, everybody else grows. So we have seen, for instance, Genmab during the pandemic leased 90,000 square feet. They were only about 10,000 feet before that. They leased 90. They expanded by 45,000 square feet, so an additional 45. And the rumor is they're looking for more space. Bristol Myers Squibb leased 118,000 square feet. PTC Therapeutics leased 225,000 square feet. These are just to name three companies. That's a substantial amount of space, all driven by pharmaceuticals, right? So what I'm seeing here in New Jersey is not what everybody's seeing around the country. If you're in San Francisco and a lot of the big, tech companies in Silicon Valley are giving space back in droves, obviously very different than what we're seeing here. Some companies have seen that as opportunistic. You maybe have heard of Facebook saying that, hey, we're gonna go home work indefinitely. They leased 750,000 square feet in Manhattan after they made that announcement, and have since leased more space. So I think people are taking it as an opportunity to get maybe good deals. There are landlords who are willing to be a little bit more aggressive, whether it's a rental rate or tenant improvement allowances or things like free rent. And I think that window of opportunity, it's closing, and it's closing pretty quickly because the market is starting to get back to neutral. And I think we're going to start to see the rents stabilize and the other concessions start to stabilize as well. So if anybody had an opportunity, a year ago, and they said, maybe the situation's only going to get worse and I can wait a little bit longer, I think they missed that opportunity. But that's not to say that there isn't still opportunity today. It's still there, but I do think it's going to be gone, in short order.
Yeah, and Vinny, thank you so much. That was good insight, because you are doing this every day. I think one thing that I was chatting with one of my friends, that the term remote work was hijacked. Remote work was that, will you be able to work from home as much as you would be able to work from your office? And now the technologies are available, you can do that. But then, when people say that we don't need space, so hospitals still need patients coming to them, urgent care still needs the people coming to them, retail still need people coming to them, every industry. The only thing I think that happened, and I would say the media also said, oh, remote work, people want to work from home. If that is the case, that if everybody is happy from their remote work, then why there's a big resignation is happening? So that is not the case that people are happy working from home or not. The problem is that if your company is not taking care of your employees, they're not gonna work there. They will go somewhere else, and they will find some excuses. Um, uh, and Again, I have seen so many news like Google, they purchase a lot of properties. Microsoft done the same thing. So my next question would be that when people are buying more properties, what is the case? Like why they need now? You said because they are hiring more people, but before if somebody was using 10,000 square feet and now he has 19,000 square feet, is it because they have more people, or it is, or maybe they want people to sit like a little bit like away from each other?
But that's a really good question. I don't, so I think I mentioned this on my last call that we had was, people aren't going to want to be sitting on top of each other. After 2008, companies started to reevaluate their floor plans and how they utilize space. And if you think of the old model where really tall cubicles, big cubes, big private offices, people finally got to this point in time where they said, maybe we don't need all this and we can really start to shrink in the amount of space we give every single person. But it really started to get almost too efficient, okay? And that was one of my predictions that I think we're going to start to spread space out a little bit more. What's actually happened, and again, it's such a great question, and this also happened in 2008, it gave business owners and architects and people in this industry an opportunity to look at space differently. So maybe now we've learned that the space is not going to be a place where you come in every day and you connect your laptop and you work 9 to 5 in the way that we've done in a very traditional sense. But it could be it could be a place where we come together to collaborate and to share ideas and to see each other. So there's more meeting spaces, more meeting rooms, collaborative spaces, kitchen areas where people share ideas. So the design is a little bit different. And when you look at that, well, maybe in fact we need 25% more space to be able to create the space that is going to best fit the future of our company. I think a lot of that is driven by big brands who are sort of forced to think in a big and different way. Your everyday companies that have one location or a few locations or maybe even 20 locations, I think the mindset is like, look, we need space regardless. We don't have to necessarily veer and create a state-of-the-art space, but we can make some minor changes. So maybe those people and those companies have leases that are expiring, and it's just an opportunity to reevaluate. So I'm in 10,000 feet today. Maybe we are going to have some people work from home, but like the setup here in the office is going to be the same, but maybe we only need 8,000 feet. So what they're doing is something called a flight to quality. So they're saying, we've been in a Class B 10,000 square foot space for many, many years. We're going to shed a little bit of space. We're going to be 8,000 feet, but we're going to go to a Class A building, and we're actually going to pay 20, 30, 40% more per square foot. So we're giving up 20%, but maybe we're going to spend 40% more because the space is going to be beautiful. The building is going to be beautiful. It's going to have conference centers, fitness centers, cafeterias, all these other really great amenities. By the way, it's going to excite my people to come back to the office because there's a major disconnect. Your employees might want to work from home, but the employers, I think their mindset's a little bit different. I think, right, they want their people in the office. So you made a good point. People are resigning. People are having a knee-jerk reaction. You're telling me I can't work from home every day. I'm going to leave. I'm going to find someone who will let me work from home every day. That's okay. There's going to be sort of a changing of the guard, if you will, for some people, and they're going to leave and do what they want to do. But at the end of the day, you're going to have your core group. They're going to stick around, and you want to make them happy. You want to provide a culture for them that gets them excited to work for you and to stick around, to come into the office and to give you 100%. And look, the physical environment oftentimes is what creates that culture.
Yeah, I give you example. Very, very fresh example. Yesterday, I sold my car to Carvana.
Okay.
So, so it was, I mean, I was selling the car, so I was on the phone with the person who, when they were talking with me, the first thing they said, we apologize that I'm working from home. And so if you find some trouble, then please, I will give you a call back. So tech stack maybe was not there yet, like that they wanted. Then when they transfer me to another department like treasury to, so where I have to pay the difference, they said, that person said the same thing. Hey, I want to apologize. I'm working from home. Like the employees know that they are not in a professional environment setting. So if a noise come or if something happen, they're not very, like they're not very secure working from home when they're, doing these kind of transactions. And I said, no worries, whatever. But then I realized that look like these employees, they would be happy if they say, hey, if you work 4 hours, like suppose a mom who has kids, they say, hey, if you work 4 hours in the morning and before your kids come out, you can go pick up your kid and go work from home. Hybrid working, that is a future. I think this will happen once or for all. Like if a guy like me or you, we want to work from office, right? Like, hey, I can work 9 hours, 8 hours. But if a mom or if somebody's, like in that cases of having some health issues, you want to work from home, work, but 1, 2 days come up to the office. So office will always be there. That was not like there's a very big financial firm. I don't want to name them, but their CEO said that, hey, if somebody want to work for us, they have to come to the office. That means that office is where even the Microsoft said that. It's on the article that there was an article that most of the creative work is always happen in the office, not at home, because in the home you're looking at your paint, you're looking at your window. Oh, I need new windows, I need new paint.
Listen, I am a big offender that when I make an effort to work from home, I don't get much work done, and I get a lot of housework done. Don't get me wrong. I'm very busy. I think there are too many distractions, and again, I think it depends on your age and where you are in your career and what your aspirations are. But you make a good point. The mindset will never be what it was. Before COVID, if you were not in the office 9 to 5, you were considered to be out of the office and not working. And now we know the technology enables us to be able to work sort of anytime, anywhere. And so for the caretaker who has to go help an ailing parent or pick up a child, there should be no reason for them not to now. So I think what's happened is that we've been afforded greater flexibility that we were never going to have if not for COVID and for the experience that we've gone through. So I think everybody can have their cake and eat it too, okay? This is not a conversation about the office being obsolete and companies not needing as much office space. I think the office is as strong as it's ever been. It has served a very big and important role in the company's culture and how they hire new staff and how they retain new staff, how they embed their brand into their people. You can't do this over video, but at the same time, for the people that want the flexibility, they've got it. You can now do what you need to do day to day, take care of the people that need to get taken care of without necessarily being, nickel and dime from your employer, right? By having to take out of your pay or use a sick day or whatever the case might be. So I do think we are headed into a much better future as people, just as a society, to be able to go see the doctor and do whatever we need to do. That's why I just think the conversation just needs to be, it's not about whether or not the office is important and whether or not everybody should be working from home. It truly is a symbiotic hybrid situation that can work for everybody. Because when I go home and I get a phone call and I just instinctively want to pick it up and it's, hey, let's say it's 4 o'clock, right? Because that's bad, right? Before COVID, 4 o'clock and you're working from home, shame on you. Like I said, I've got 3 kids under the age of 6. Someone's inevitably screaming, and I'm running to the corner of the house to try and get some quiet space, and that's really difficult to do. And I just can't be on the top of my game when I'm doing it. So again, I think there's an opportunity for everybody here to be happy in their space, with their job, with whatever flexibility they're looking for. that has never happened in the history of sort of the professional work environment, over the course of the last, say, 70, 80 years. We're really set up for a really profound change.
Let me ask you an example to help anybody, because I have talked with many startups. I was some days ago in New York. There was a startup conference. I was part of that. And some startups, they go to the spaces, like, them, like WeWork or something like that,
Yep.
where they get small or big space with all the tech that they need. But suppose when a startup becomes big, like there was one healthcare startup in California, which were like 300 employees, and now they're like 1,000. So when you grow at that space, you need bigger, beautiful space. So my question is, suppose a client is looking for a space in Princeton, New Jersey, and they come to you and they say, we are a startup, so we are, we have money, but we have to give that money on a very good terms. What should they look into a space? Class A, B? How many classes are there in a building space?
Uh, so there's really, for the longest time, been A, B, and C, but we've identified more of a premier Class A stock of buildings. It's not fair to take a 30-year-old Class A building and then a brand new Class A building and say they're the same. One is a lot better than the other. And it's really defined by the age of the building, the location, the amenities, and sort of the material that the building was built with. And so, starting at a place like WeWork or Regis, it's historically been good for people that you're one person, two people, five people, because, maybe it's only going to cost you, I'm kind of making numbers up here, but it's going to cost you $2,000 a month to have five people in a shared space. But you can't really find anything under 1,000 square feet in the market. So you're 1,500 feet, let's say, and that's going to cost you $3,000 a month. So in that case, WeWork and Regis and these other shared workplaces, from a rent perspective, are ideal. By the way, they're furnished. They have people answering your phones, right? They have a lot of the technology there. These are costs you don't have to incur as a startup, and you can take your resources and allocate them to the business and not to the space. But there does become a point in time where you're probably, if you continue to grow in a shared space, it's cost prohibitive. You're going to be spending more in rent there because now you've graduated out of the shared work environment, and you can afford to go find the space and, take 2, 3, 5, 10,000 square feet on your own, and to pay for all the technology and the goodies that you need. Because again, you're trying to create a culture. You're trying to create space for yourself, not walk into what feels like somebody else's space with people doing a lot of different things in there. But I always thought the opportunity was unique for networking. So I remember a story about a very big financial company that took like 10,000 feet in WeWork, which is a lot of space. You don't need to take that much space in a WeWork. But really, it was just meant to be an opportunity for them to network with the other businesses.
Oh, okay.
I've kind of played around with that thought myself. Like, what if I got an office in Regis, even a virtual office, and I work from there from time to time, and I meet the startups because I'm in the space, right? So it's not in my business model or my business plan to do that, but I think there's a lot of there's valid points to doing it. But to answer your question, it really just depends on what the company's looking for. If you are going after a younger core group of people that you want to hire, so the millennials, the Gen Zers, you might know that having a building that speaks to their wants and needs is a little bit more important. So it's probably going to be a Class A building because those buildings are more likely to have cafeterias, fitness centers. Some of these Class A parks have plenty of outdoor amenities too. Concerts, volleyball, basketball, bocce ball. I mean, you name it. But you're going to be paying a premium.
Yeah.
Okay, so is it worth to pay the premium? Well, if you have less turnover, right, with your existing staff, and you can hire more easily and get your staff to feel productive, it's going to pay, that space is going to not only pay for itself, but it's going to pay you back in spades.
Yes.
So that's the other mindset is don't necessarily take space cheaply for the sake of having space. Have the right space. Have the space that's going to give you the best chance of being successful for your organization. That might mean that you need a Class B space that has no amenities and it's bare boned. There are always going to be companies who want and need that space.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's not that those are bad buildings. It just does. It might not meet the needs and requirements of your company.
Uh, yeah, so that is a good question. Like, what are the three common mistakes you have seen from somebody who, like just said, okay, I can get a building and we will put our office there rather than using a company like JLL and, person like you?
Wow, thank you so much for asking that question. I almost wanted to. I was going to say, don't mean to sound self-serving, but hire a real estate broker. So thank you for asking that. I think people get the misconception that they can lease space by themselves, and it's really not smart. And it might sound cheesy, but I tell people you would never diagnose yourself. If you weren't feeling well, you would see a doctor. If you were in a legal battle, you would hire an attorney. Hiring a real estate broker is no difference, right? There's no difference because we have relationships that we leverage. So, oftentimes I can call a landlord and say, hey, I'm working with a tenant. Here's what I need. And because we have an existing relationship, they're more likely to give me the terms that my client wants versus that person going to the same landlord and asking for the same thing, but getting a no because the landlord says, I don't know you. You're not a trusted resource, but guess what? I am. So I'm leveraging a relationship. I'm leveraging experience. I've been doing this for 12 years. I think I have over 500 successful closed transactions under my belt. I know the things that I need to be looking for that a tenant should not know about. It is not their responsibility and their job to know the kinds of things that you should be asking for. That's why people like me exist. So I think there should be more recognition that real estate brokers provide a service that you just can't put a price on. But speaking of price, it doesn't cost tenants anything.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So good. I'm glad you kind of made a face like, how is that? And the example that I use is, if you sold your house, you paid the realtor, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if you bought a house, did you pay the seller's realtor?
No.
No, the seller does. So in
Yeah.
this case, if I have a client who's
Mm-hmm.
renewing their lease, so I'm going to help them stay in the building that they're in. By the way, landlord's getting the benefit of keeping their tenant, and they're paying me. They're saying, thanks very much for working with them and showing them that staying in the building was the best thing for them. Or me bringing a client to a building that they're not already in, the landlord's going to say, thank you very much for bringing them, and they're going to pay the fee. So people will say to me, but isn't that commission in the rent? Well, look, to some extent it might be, but I've had situations where a client of mine was negotiating a deal on their own, right? So technically there's no commission in the rent. And I say, look, just give me a chance. Let me show you what I can do. And I'm able to get the rent down 20%, even though the landlord is now paying a commission. We never get in the way. We will always find a way to make the whether the rent cheaper, the lease more favorable to the tenant, or find more free rent or construction dollars to fix up the space. That's what we're here for. We're doing this every single day. And even for a tenant who's maybe negotiated 2 or 3 leases, you've done it 2 or 3 times, but that doesn't compare to someone who's done it hundreds or thousands of times.
Yeah.
So, I just think it doesn't matter if it's a real estate broker or a doctor or an attorney or someone who needs help in tech, right? You should leverage the professionals who know what they're doing. And just to drive the point home, in real estate, there's only one license. When you get into commercial real estate, unless you're getting your broker's license, to be able to transact, all you need is a license to be a residential realtor. Okay, that's all you need. So my license tells me that I can go help people buy and sell homes. Well, I bought and sold a home in July, and guess what? I hired a realtor because I don't know anything about buying and selling homes. It's right. It's like going to a cardiologist and asking them, "Hey, what's wrong with my brain?" Okay, so there's commercial real estate, and real estate as a whole is a very big industry, a lot of different verticals and responsibilities. And so even though I have a license to help someone buy and sell a home, I knew the best thing was to find someone who was doing that every single day. Even though it meant paying a commission, I was happy to do it,
Yes.
right? Because at the end of the day, I know they help me get a better deal. I feel very confident about that. So hopefully that resonates with some people listening.
No, that's wonderful. I will definitely make that a point that using any professional who specializes in his field always pay the dividend in the long run, because you might not know something about that building that he knows, because you know, as you say, you had done more than 500 times the same thing that maybe somebody is doing 2 times or 3 times in his life, and it can't take away that experience away for nothing. And plus, you're saying you can mostly get them favorable deal than what they're trying to do.
Yep.
What you're thinking, what gonna happen once? I think this. Um, sub, so is it like same thing happening in your field too? Like demand and supply is having issues. Like Class A buildings are going faster, and then Class B buildings nobody's looking at it. So how the supply and demand also working in your space?
That's a good question. People are looking at all different classes of space. Class A will always perform better because, again, it's just more favorable. There's going to be people looking for that really nice, attractive space with amenities. So the rents are higher, the vacancies are lower, and the turnaround time to lease them is generally faster than Class B. But, you know, there's always, even in a really good market, there's going to be even 17%, let's say, vacancy in a 26 million square foot market, because there's probably 10% of that stock that no one's ever going to lease. It's an old, sort of decrepit building that nobody's interested in. So, you know, now you're saying take that 10% of the stock out, you're really 7% vacant. So, you know, I think it's there are some constraints with increases in material for fit out, right? So construction costs, supply constraints that people are seeing. So we need to order material that maybe is being held up at the ports. So turnaround times are even longer than they already were.
Yep.
You know, we're starting to work through that. There was even one of the township departments that every single person in that department had COVID. So turnaround time for permits and things was delayed. So I think we're getting past a lot of that. And, you know, I'm really hopeful that in the new year, with continued vaccinations and people getting their return to office plans set in place, that we continue to see more and more people coming back, because the road is definitely busier. The parking lots are filling up. I wouldn't say they're filled, but they're definitely filling up. You know, when we came into Labor Day, we were hoping that, you know, we would see this really quick spurt. It's been a trickle effect. But I think now that we've been out for 19 months, people are going to start to just, you know, rip the Band-Aid off and come back. And look, hopefully at that point too, we see even more interest for people to look at space. And, you know, maybe the supply continues to get even more constrained. But, you know, it's not like industrial space. There's 1%, 2% availability in the country. That effectively means that there is no warehouse space to be leased. That'll probably never be the case with office space. But, you know, a really, really good sign, we're talking a lot about people putting their space on the market for sublease. That space is coming off of the market faster than new space is being put on. What's really interesting is that it's not being taken off the market because somebody else leased it. It's being taken off the market because the company that said, hey, I want to get rid of this space, they've actually now changed their tone and said, you know what, we need the space. So I think there was a lot of knee-jerk reactions of people putting their space on the market for sublease, thinking they were going to work home forever, and then realizing that that's really not the case anymore. And so it's just a sign, we're seeing more net absorption of space, so meaning the vacancy rates are coming down, right? We're seeing the sublease availabilities come down. We're seeing rents start to stabilize. Those are all really, really good signs. So again, even though not everybody's back at the office, people are planning that return, and it's being reflected in the activity that we're seeing in the market today. And I would anticipate that in the next 2 to 3 quarters, it's going to really start to be reflected in those numbers. You'll see the vacancy rates come down. You'll see the rents go up, and that's what I think a lot of people need to see. They need to see that, that empirical data. It's not just a feeling that somebody has. They want to see that it's actually starting to change. And so that's what I'm really excited for, because I see the change. Since I'm doing this every day, I see the change, and I'm excited for it. I haven't felt this busy in over 2 years. I mean, the excitement is really back, and that good stress of wanting to feel like I've got so many things I'm working on and wanting to get back to everybody and do a really good job. That feeling is back, and it really wasn't there for a long time. So I'm really excited to to really give this report, because I think it's good for everybody when the sentiment is strong and people are feeling bullish, because corporate real estate and office space hasn't been in the conversation in such a wide and big way ever as it was. Everybody's talking about space now, right? Because of work from home and remote work and hybrid work. It's such a leading indicator on the way that we feel about our work lives and our professions. And so as long as the tone is starting to improve and people are feeling confident, I think it's a good thing for everybody.
Nice. Wow. That that is why I said that everybody should use a real estate guy, because what is really happening from my side, because we work in technology, and especially in the technology that is directly related to the people in the business side, unified communication and fiber internet stuff. That we were, I think, as you said, that these employees, they know that they need more space because they're gonna grow very fast, because the way the economy is working, and that happened. The startups are growing faster. Amazon is selling more stuff. That means they're gonna hire more people, not only in the supply chain, but also they need more executives, more data analytics people, and they need somewhere for them to go. And people are coming back to New York. I went to New York. It was so busy that I was saying, now this is New York. This is where the New York I have seen 10 years ago. And this looks like it's coming back. People around, people were wearing masks, but they were happy. And another thing that I want to tell you, if you go to New York, please have your vaccination card handy.
Oh, yeah. I haven't been back.
Oh, my God. Any building you want to go in, they first want to see your ID and your ID card. So you need that. Otherwise, you will not get anywhere, not restaurant, not office, anywhere. You have to have that in your hand, which was not in New Jersey. I think we don't have that yet here to show whenever you go to our office or any event. But excited that this is what is happening in the market. Before I can let you go, so you already told you sit in the Princeton world, Princeton area, sorry. What is your territory? If you can sell anywhere, or you have like a territory, if somebody's looking in that territory, they should consult with you.
Yeah, thank you for asking that. I mean, I'm licensed in the state of New Jersey personally, and I focus much of my business on the greater Princeton area. But, Jones Lang LaSalle is a very big company. I've transacted in probably a dozen or maybe a little bit more different states. And I would say probably 24, cities and towns throughout the country, all the way from California, Texas, Minnesota. Yeah. If a client says to me, you really know your stuff, you did a really good job, I trust you. By the way, we have an office in Washington, D.C. Can you help me? I'd say, yeah, sure. I'm going to leverage my local experts who know that market inside and out, but I'm going to guide you through the process because you trust me and we have a relationship. So, we have, I want to say, 4 offices just in New Jersey. So that's why I'm concentrated more in this market. But, I would say anybody that is looking to, lease office space. By the way, I do medical space. I work with lab users and biotech companies, right? Technology companies, law firms, accountants. I'm sort of a little bit agnostic in that world because I do a lot of business, all those different verticals. So yeah, if they have any questions, they want to buy real estate, sell real estate, I'm happy to talk.
Great. I really appreciate your time today, Vinny. I know you're a very busy guy. So I will share this one on LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever people can find, because if people can find, I will share, I think, the both audios from the first and this one, that things, that is why professionals know what they're doing. If somebody asks me about something that I do, I think I should have the good answers. At the same time, if somebody want to know and they're in the market for real estate, they should, listen to any real estate guy, like professional real estate, working at a company like JLL or CBRE. That is pretty much because I see CBRE everywhere I go here in New Jersey too. So
Yeah,
JLL and CBRE, they're big, I think so.
Yeah. We're two of the biggest in the world. And, but yeah, I tell people, if you have an existing relationship and someone you trust who's going to help you, just use them. I just don't want to see people going at these sort of things alone, because you always need someone to support you and guide you. And especially when it comes to your business, if you're a tenant, your landlord is going to really be a partner in your business, whether you like it or not. They're very play an important role. And so you want to make sure that there's a happy relationship there. So making sure that you're not only getting a good deal, but partnering with someone who's trusted is really important. And, this is maybe another topic for another call, but we also represent landlords. I mean, I have 1 million square feet of buildings and landlords that I represent, and I'm, advising them day to day on what's a good company, right? So it's not just about which landlords are good for tenants, which tenants are good for landlords. It goes both, right? It goes both ways. It goes both ways. So we just want to make sure that the relationships are very symbiotic. Everyone's happy. You don't never have to worry about your landlord. You never have to worry about your tenant, and you can just do your business and do it well and focus on those things that matter.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much again. Have a good day, and I will keep in touch with you on LinkedIn.
Thanks, Mohammed. I really appreciate you giving me the platform, and I had a lot of fun. We'll talk to you again later.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Take care.
Do you want to stop?